So, if you think about the way a Formula One car generates downforce, when there's not a lot of downforce on the car, when it's perfectly stationary, it's sort of tilted like this, where the front of the car is a lot lower. So my fingers here are the front, and my wrist is the rear of the car, and the front is a lot lower than the rear. And then what happens is, as the downforce builds up, and the floor starts sucking the car to the ground, the rear wing squeezes the rear of the car to the ground, you get the car sort of leveling off like this, and then what happens is the bottom of the plank at the rear of the car starts scratching the floor, and it starts wearing out. And as it wears out more and more, you get yourself closer to that disqualification phase. And if you look at the Ferrari team, which was probably the worst team, the worst culprit for this plank wear at the bottom and the rear of the car, the majority of the wear that they were seeing on their plank was towards the rear. So you've got your car from the front to the back. The plank starts about halfway through, and it goes from the middle all the way to the end. And the Ferrari was getting its biggest, most prominent plank wear right at the back of the car. McLaren, however, were getting most of their plank wear towards the middle, towards the front of the plank, which is very much of an outlier. You look at all of the other teams, and their plank wear is right at the back of the car. And McLaren had somehow, using some tricks in the suspension, some tricks in the setup, some tricks on the aero, had managed to move the area of biggest wear and tear from the rear of the car to the middle, which then allowed them to lower the car even further and allowed them to get more downforce. So sorry for the sort of long explanation. Hopefully you guys did understand that. But essentially what has happened is, from moving your point of highest wear from the rear to the middle of the car, you can lower your ride height even more. And Red Bull have managed to do that. In the past few races, their wear on their plank has now been higher towards the middle and towards the front of the plank section rather than to the rear. So they've figured out whatever McLaren were doing to move the plank wear to the front, and then Red Bull have lowered their car, generating more downforce, making it more stable, and then allowing Max Verstappen to compete with the McLarens. So I don't know how well I explained that to you guys, but do let me know if you sort of understood it. Either way, Red Bull have used a combination of setup tricks, because they haven't got any upgrade packages, but they've been able to get the setup into the correct window and to minimize the plank wear, and that's how they've been running the car lower to the ground, and that's how they've been delivering so well. And that is also why the McLaren is a bit sort of bad around circuits where you have to take a lot of curb, because the McLaren runs their car so close to the ground. When you have to be super aggressive over the curbs, the McLaren can't do it. The Red Bull used to be alright at this, but now they've also used the same trick as McLaren to gain pace. They can't run their car over the curbs as well as George Russell can do. George Russell, the Mercedes, is fantastic at taking curbs. He did it really well in Canada, did it really well in Singapore, and he's doing it, and Kimi Antonelli did it very well in FP1 today. We'll see what Russell can do in FP2, but I have a feeling that this weekend is going to be very strong for Mercedes, even though it's going to be hot conditions, which they're typically not good at. I think with these huge cooling ducts that they've got on their car there on the bottom left of the image, I think they should be okay. Alright, yeah. At F1 Gamer, how effective is poaching personnel in F1 with 2 new teams debuting next year? It is very, very effective, but I think sort of you can poach personnel, and poaching a bunch of people from the same team will help, but having asset. So let's consider Cadillac. There's going to be a lot of people moving to Cadillac, maybe from a few different motorsports, maybe from a few different Formula One teams, and the knowledge that they'll have from each team. You know, maybe Alpine will do something different to Aston Martin, which will do something different to McLaren. Having all of these different perspectives on what the teams do to try and operate at the best possible level will allow each individual team, so will allow maybe Cadillac to pick and choose the best of each of the teams to try and make sure that they are at the top of their game. So poaching personnel is a very common thing in Formula One. You know, loads of people switch. Once you are in the world of Formula One, it's quite the easy switch to go from one Formula One team to another. and Formula One teams welcome it. They want some external knowledge from insider knowledge, and we'll see if it works for Cadillac. We'll see if it works for the other teams. We've seen it happen actually in the past, where loads of people have been taken away from the Mercedes team. Red Bull have hired a few people, then Ferrari go on a hiring spree, hiring loads of different teams. So have Aston Martin have done that as well. So it is quite the interesting thing. But as it is always, the knowledge always spreads out, and your tricks are never safe for long. Your tricks and your secrets are never safe for long. Will the circuit map be working this session? Unfortunately, I cannot confirm. We'll find out in 8 minutes and 40 seconds time. There's one new team. I'd like audio transitioning from Sauber, and the other team has got 10. Yeah. Description is still of Austin, or is that still on my end? Oh, maybe I forgot to update the description for the FP2 stream. Oh yeah, I did actually forget to update the description for the FP2 stream. Oops. Well, I guess it still says Austin, but I must have just forgot to do that. Alright. Maybe I'll just update that in this, well, right now actually. Could all marshals and safety crews assemble in the paddock? So, yeah, 7 minutes and 50 seconds we'll be getting, so we'll have quite a few drivers out for their first outing of the weekend. So Max will be on his first laps of the weekend, so will Norris, so will Isaac Hadjar, I think, and yeah, so will Stroll, so will Hamilton, and so will Russell, and so will Sainz. So we've got quite a few drivers doing their first laps of the session, so don't expect too much. FP2, what we'll be expecting from this session, as always, first half will be long runs, second half will be short runs. That's typically how it goes, but yeah, that's what we're really expecting. Alrighty. What else have we got? Where to watch with the Swiss VPN? Unfortunately, it's not the Swiss VPN today. It is the Austrian VPN, and then it's Service TV. Service TV. Let me just pop it up on screen. There you go. Right. Brilliant. Let me know, folks, if you have any other questions about Formula 1, anything that you would like for me to answer, and I'll be doing my best. Track temperature's down a little bit from this morning. We've got 47 degrees Celsius, yes, in FP1. Now it's down to 44 degrees Celsius. We've still got a lot of tyre wear and track evolution to go, and we'll be seeing a lot of lap times falling, lap times improving. I still think the lap times were quite a ways off the 1:15.9 that we saw from Carlos Sainz last year to get his pole time in the Ferrari. How does the team's aerodynamic philosophy, particularly with the car's underfloor and front wing, influence the car's overall aero efficiency and mechanical grip? And how is it optimised for the use of CFD in wind tunnel testing? Well, that's quite the difficult question to answer, but I shall do my best. So, when the team is initially doing their sort of initial concepts, they will come up with a few different ideas, and their design philosophies may be so. Let's say revert back to 2021. We had the Mercedes with a super long wheelbase and a very low rake design, low rake setup. The Red Bull on 2021 was very opposite in terms of that. It had a very short wheelbase and a very steep rake. And when the teams are going through these different design philosophies, they're looking at the pros and cons. They're also looking at the expandability and the improvability of a certain setup, 3-4 years into the future, because 2026, these upgrade packages, these aero packages are going to last for quite a while. So the team could pick something that might be really quick at the start of 2026, but if it's got no upgrading scope, no upgrading capacity, then you're going to be a little bit screwed into 27, into 28. So the team essentially will pick their aerodynamic philosophy based on what they think is going to be best in the long term, and their main sort of unit of measurement will be how good is this car, how good is the grip, how good is the downforce to drag level. That's what they're sort of trying to maximize. That is what aerodynamic efficiency is, and that's essentially what all of the F1 engineers are trying to maximize in their cars, in their setups. And yeah, the aero efficiency is sort of separate to mechanical grip. The mechanical grip is much more down to the chassis and the suspension, so they're sort of separate parts of designing a Formula 1 car. But honestly, I can't give you the best possible answer to that question right now, but I would recommend reading Adrian Newey's book. It's called How to Build a Car. Of course, it's not like an exact, put this bolt there kind of thing, but it gives you a very sort of interesting perspective into the world of Formula 1, into the perspective of a Formula 1 engineer, designer, on how the teams go about doing things, how the engineers think. So yeah, I've tried to do my best as an answer, but I'd very much recommend reading Adrian Newey's book. All right. What else have we got? Which team was the last to use mechanical gear shifters? Actually, I don't know that. If anyone does know what team was the last to use mechanical gear shifters, then be sure to let me know. F1 Gamer, what do you think of Kalle Rungis, youngest ever World Rally champ, and to try and get into Formula 1 backed by Toyota Gazoo? Well, the thing is, a lot of motorsport is very much transferable. If you're a World Rally champion, then you've got a lot of feel for the car, got a lot of sort of understanding of how cars work, their setup, but it's also a very big shift. In World Rally Championship, you don't have to think so much about maintaining tyre temperature, about managing your tyres throughout the stage of a rally. There are elements of it, but it's totally different to the world of Formula 1. So I'd say I would love to see if a rally driver can make their way in towards Formula 1, but I don't know. I think it will be interesting to see if they can adapt. That's the biggest thing. That's the sort of speciality of Fernando Alonso. He can get into a Le Mans car and still deliver. He can get into an Indy car, still deliver, because he, firstly, is very determined to learn everything that he possibly can about a certain car, a certain setup, a certain set of tyres. But then it's also the ability to actually adapt to that setup. Some drivers. So I've referred back to the story loads of times now, but there was at some point someone testing for Ferrari. It wasn't Michael Schumacher, and they had done, I think, they had done multiple test days and probably on the order of 100, 200, 300 laps around the circuit. I'm sure the 3% of stuff makes it pretty different from from normal water and keeps you awake for quite a while. 42 minutes remain, though, of this practice session. The only drivers that did come out on soft tyres were Bortoletto and Stroll briefly. Apart from that, we've been having medium tyres for nearly everyone on the grid, apart from Hulkenberg, Ocon and Hadjar. Kimi Antonelli is still in the pit lane with the issues that he was having. Lando Norris is now also in the pits. Maybe this will be a longer than normal pit stop or garage session for Lando Norris, as they may have to investigate the sort of misfires that he was complaining about over the radio. And yeah, but the misfire is clearly not helping him, not holding him back too much, because he is 3/10 back from Charles Leclerc in terms of lap time. All right. F1 Gamer, what do you think about the seat now? I was at the session where they shoot a taking a hard window for a kind of soft. It was a little bit concerning, but to be honest, Tsunoda's seat is still under threat, not because of his pace, but much more because of the fact that Honda is no longer going to be Red Bull's main sponsor for the engine, because it's now going to become a Red Bull powertrain rather than Honda powertrain going into 2026, which means that Tsunoda's big reason for being at Red Bull was, of course, that they're using the Honda engine, and because they're using the Honda engine, Yuki Tsunoda is essentially Red Bull doing Honda a favour by taking in Yuki Tsunoda. That's essentially what it was. And then now Honda's no longer there, and he's giving Yuki Tsunoda a favour to drive in for the one team. So Tsunoda may end up dropping back down to our being Isaac Hadjar up there, but that, well, it's always a bit risky putting in a young, inexperienced driver. And I'd like to feel Red Bull have learned their lesson at some point. They did it with Lawson, they did it with Gasly, they did it with Albon, and things never turned out well, so surely hold out another at least half a season with Tsunoda. If Tsunoda cannot deliver in 2026 until the mid-season break, then by all means go ahead and replace him. But we've got to give the guy a chance in a car that's a little bit more stable and a little bit more manageable for an average Formula 1. Yeah, Honda engine bag scrapped off in Velar and Red Bull engine. That is true. They have hired a lot of people from the Honda powertrain department to sort of help them build the engine. So it's pretty much a Honda powertrain with the Red Bull logo on it. But either way, Honda are no longer giving the Red Bull logo. They're no longer title sponsors and partners. So Tsunoda's on the chopping block. Honda, of course, will still be in Formula 1 next year. They'll be with Aston Martin, but the question remains is he going to get a seat in Aston Martin? I don't think Stroll's leaving anytime soon, and neither is Fernando Alonso. So we have got 40 minutes left on the clock. The drivers have done their long runs. Well, they've done a few of their long runs. They've maybe got a few more left to go before we go out on fresh sets of softs. But Alex Albon is out actually on a fresh set of soft tyres. So we'll see what Alex Albon can do. But as of right now, I'm going to take you through a flying lap of the circuit, and then we'll, in fact, let's go on board with Alex Albon. Not exactly on board with him, but if I can set this up nicely. Let's say going towards turn 1 now. Albon is just making this way down the straight, so turn 1 will take a lot of curve here. Let's just set this up with Alex Albon. There we go, alright. So you make your way through turns number 2 and 3. Short shift here on the exit so you don't get too much wheel spin like I did just there. And then you're blasting your way down the second straight. You've got another DRS zone in towards turn number 4. Super late on the brakes. Shift your brake lines forward as well. It helps with slowing the car down. And then shift it back again for this corner, because you've got to take this sort of double V line. You've got to go in for the first apex, drift out wide, then come back for the second apex. And Albon looking blisteringly quick in the first sector, now heading in towards the middle sector, to the left, to the right, to the left. And honestly, it's so important to have just a smooth steering input. It's not a single stab with the steering wheel, because that will, just lose your lap time for the next 500 metres down the road. Albon purple in the middle sector, looking fantastic. Now through turn number 12, avoiding that curve on the outside, because that does lose you a lot of lap time. And you make your way through the stadium section towards the final corner of the circuit. when you're on your qualifying lap, hug right to the inside line there, because that is the shortest distance to the line, and across the line for Alexander Albon. The final sector, really not that great from him. He lost 8 tenths to Lando Norris in the final sector, but of course, if he had got a good final sector, that would have put him up on top of the times. So, yeah, pretty nice there from Alex Albon overall, but he did get a little squirrely on the exit and had a little tap with the barrel, maybe. Why does Oscar look slow now? Well, Oscar is 1/10 off the back of Lando Norris. I wouldn't call it the biggest margin ever, and we'll see what they can do in the next couple of runs. What's up with Oscar, who's doing so well 2-3 months ago, but now, yes, to be honest, his pace hasn't been really that good. His form hasn't been amazing, and if we do look back to the end of last season, so going through after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which if you remember, he had a great race, held off Charles Leclerc for the race win. That was fantastic for him. But if you look up the yellow flag, what's this for? Pierre Gasly Stadium section. I think that might just be a lock-up. It's not really high speed enough to have a big crash there, so yeah, he continues on. But Oscar Piastri, going back to him, it wasn't really that great towards the end of the season. He got quite a few 7th and 8th positions in a car that was much quicker than that. He did end up with 1 podium, I think, in Qatar, but he was not very good towards the end of last season. We'll see if that carries on into this season or if he can recover from that. Track temperature is 39.1 degrees, so it is dropping significantly actually compared to what it was. It's nearly 8 degrees lower than it was in free practice 1, and that is really helping out the lap time situation for the drivers. It's going to be improving the lap times and make it easy for the drivers to push. We're still around 2 seconds off last year's pole time, a bit more than that actually. But with the track rubbering in over free practice 2, and then also some soft tyres being used. Oh, Charles Leclerc's out, set the softs. Fantastic. Which rookie impressed you in FP1? Well, I'm going to be honest, it's going to have to be Arvin Lindblad. When I read out the standings at the end of free practice 1, we had all of the new drivers or the rookie drivers that had their first FP1 session or had their first few FP1 sessions. They were literally all at the bottom of the pack. I think from 20th all the way up to 11th or 12th, it was all just the rookie FP1 drivers. And Arvin Lindblad was the only exception to put himself up there in, I think it was 6th or 7th. So, yeah, it was pretty nice from Lindblad. So that would be my vote. Fantastic. Another thing that I would quite like to mention that I didn't mention earlier on is the Constructors' Championship. I don't want to compare too much on the screen with it, but we can see here that Mercedes have got 341 points, Ferrari 334, and Red Bull 331. It is extremely close between these 3 teams as to who is going to be getting second place in the Constructors. And yeah, it's anyone's game. If Max has got really good pace towards the end of the season, then maybe he can score enough points to get Red Bull over the line. If Ferrari have a good race here in Mexico, have a good race toward another good race, then that could work out for them. If George Russell is fantastic at this race because he can take so much curb compared to everyone else, and if Antonelli can do the same, then for Mercedes are in with a good shot. It's really up in the air. So it is a fresh set of soft tyres, folks. We are approaching the second half of FP2 and we're getting the fresh sets of softs. Ferrari brakes are cooked. Well, this was what I was sort of talking about. You can see here on Oh no, wrong one. Where did I actually put it? Oh yeah, I put it in the Ferrari cycle. We're still on top actually with the Ferrari cycle, but the Ferrari team has brought some pretty big cooling ducts, as you can see, they're just below me there. This is the Ferrari team, and huge cooling ducts. Red Bull have brought slightly bigger ones, but Ferrari's ones are pretty big, and that's trying to solve their lift and coast issues. Hopefully it helps, but realistically we don't really know until we get to race day. Alright, Charles Leclerc purple in all three sectors. First driver into the 1 minute 17s, and he's also 1 full second clear of Kimi Antonelli. Very good to see. And the Ferrari is back. The prancing horse is back. How long that will last, I don't know, because Lando Norris is on a flying lap. He's about a 10th clear in the first sector of Charles Leclerc. He heads through the second sector now. Alex Albon a few metres up the road, which is going to give him a little bit dirty air, which is not ideal, of course, but Albon gets out of the way as Norris heads towards Terminal 12. That DRS is activated as well. Super duper late on the brakes as he makes his way through 12. In towards 13 and 14 goes Lando Norris. It is green in the middle sector so far, and then he's just got 1 corner left to go. Oscar Piastri, second place for him, 7/10 back from Charles Leclerc. What can Lando Norris's teammate do? It is half a tenth quicker. So Piastri looks to be fighting back. Last race wasn't his best race. The race before that also wasn't amazing, but now half a tenth back from Lando Norris. But I guess it doesn't matter because the smooth operator who got the race win here last year is now ahead of both of the McLarens. Oh my goodness me. George Russell in that Mercedes is looking absolutely incredible. Alex Albon has just gone quickest through the speed traps at 350 kilometers per hour, and it is all kicking off here 30 minutes into free practice 2. Alright, Nico Hülkenberg across the line, that is 6th position for him, and then we have got a few more drivers coming across the line. Isaac Hadjar pops himself up into 6th, brilliant job from him. Yuki Tsunoda currently on a flying lap in 13th position in that Red Bull is up into 3rd. Wow, really good lap there from Yuki Tsunoda, and he is 3.5 tenths back from Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc still a sizable advantage over the rest of the field. Will that last though against Max Verstappen? Here comes Max. Hamilton cannot improve in the final sector. Max, however, he can 1.5 tenths clear of Charles Leclerc. Very, very nice job indeed from the Flying Dutchman. And it looks like the Red Bull's upgrade packages, the Floviz, the floor upgrades, the front wing upgrades, the cooling ducts is all working perfectly in harmony, and we have got Max 1.5 tenths clear of Charles Leclerc and 7 tenths clear, 8 tenths clear of his championship rival. I mean, we might as well start playing the Max Verstappen theme song right now because the gap is absolutely enormous. Wow. How has he done that? I mean, we can watch some replays here. Oscar Piastri making his way through turns number 4 and 5, and the car bouncing about. He's getting oversteer, the car not turning when he wants it to turn, and an awful lot of bouncing. That's what I'm going to say for Oscar Piastri. An awful lot of oversteer as well. The car just does not look planted today for the McLarens. And they've got, 30 minutes to diagnose the issues before they've got no more running till tomorrow. And Tsunoda's also not too far back from Verstappen. Typically, we would expect him sort of 7 tenths back from Max, but right now he's a half a second back. So an improvement to say the least. Maybe he's getting to grips with it as the season progresses. All right. Why do some drivers have the line indicators? Why do some not? Essentially, this slash through the tyres means that when the drivers came out of the pits, they were on a used set of tyres. So Carlos Sainz, he did a flying lap, came into the pits, maybe put on a little bit more fuel, or maybe modified his front wing angle, but now he's coming out on the same set of used tyres. And because it's the same set, it's used, and that's why it's got a slash through it. Red Bull have fixed the car. Yeah, they have. And I've got to say, folks, that, if we remember back to 2024, towards the end of the season, we were all talking about how Adrian Newey left the team and every single upgrade package that Red Bull brought was heading in the wrong direction. It would make the car slower and slower. It would never work. And everyone was saying that the entire Red Bull department was sort of not second to Adrian Newey, but essentially they relied on him heavily for his input, his direction, and once he left, that created a huge gaping vacuum of knowledge, vacuum of power in the Formula One, in the Red Bull aerodynamics team, and nothing was really working. And whatever issues that they did have 1 full year ago is now very much improved, and yeah, they brought some floor upgrades after a few weeks of developing it, and it looks to be brilliant. So, huge props to the Red Bull team, Red Bull aerodynamic team. They've obviously pulled themselves together, regrouped over the off season, and worked very, very hard. And they are functioning fantastically, even without Adrian Newey. All right, we've got Fernando Alonso also up in 5th position. That is fantastic from him. He is they're half a second off Max Verstappen, but he's up ahead of the McLarens, on par with the Williams, so it's looking good. All right. Lauren Mickey's also, yes, Lauren Mickey's has also played a very, very pivotal role in this process. Of course, Christian Horner did leave Red Bull quite a while ago, and since Lauren Mickey's has joined Red Bull, he has changed up the philosophy a little bit, changed up how they approach solving problems, and what data do they rely on more, what data do they rely on less, and I think Red Bull, what they were doing before, apparently at least, the rumours say that they were very much looking at the numbers, looking at the data, and they didn't so much pay attention to the driver's feedback and the driver's input. And now that they've started to do that a little bit more under Lauren Mickey's, maybe he's relaxed a little bit of the tension, a little bit of the pressure, maybe rearranged a little bit of the structure within the team. Of course, we don't know the details, but Lauren Mickey, as the team principal, has led some pretty key and big developments at the Red Bull team, and improvements are visible, improvements are clear. So I think that's a job well done, if I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. All right. The other thing is that where is the speed trap? The speed trap is over here, folks. As you can see, it is right at the end of the straight. Probably a little bit later is when the drivers start hitting the brakes, probably around this point here, but it's a good enough point of reference for the top speeds of the drivers.
Why have you been line is right, and it is me every time. Couldn't run out, tried. So do it one more time. I don't wanna free fall, dancing in your cold. I just know what's on your mind. It's been meaning for so long, under your control. I just love you one more time. When you hold me with your eyes, oh, it burns me up inside. It's like fire, it's like fire. Oh, I'm fighting for my life, just one touch and I'm alive. It's like fire, it's like fire.
Top 3, fuck yeah. Holy shit, I pulled pole.
It's like fire.
Andy, you're getting pole position. I just want you to know.
When the sun is out, all your true colors come out. We're still gray like clouds, but I see the beauty now. When the rain pours in, there's a silent warning. But I die just to love you one more time. Will you hold me with your eyes? Oh, it burns me up inside. It's like fire. It's like fire. I'm fighting for my life. Just one touch.
Nobody's let me get a truck race yet in Martinsville.
There are so many things that I'd rather do than play Martinsville.
I won Martinsville the other night, and dude, my session that I was in was a complete freaking wreck fest. It ended under yellow, and I ended the night with an 8x. I still somehow managed to get safety rating out of it.
Yeah, I think like I'd rather get touched by a Catholic priest than play.
Good luck, everyone. Have a great race. Survive.
Here they come. God damn it, how can you be that slow?
Go, Jalen, just fly on past.
10-4.
I feel like you should already know that we played yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, what happened there?
One car got loose and I got powered into it.
I almost took the 7 out and I felt really bad for it.
Hey, Jalen, if you can, you may want to try to see if you can get your car lower in the corners. Because if you keep drifting up like that, you're about to hit the ball on one of these later laps.
Yeah, don't worry about Lisa.
I know, I'm just, trying to help my fellow racer. Doubt it'll ever happen to me. It'd be nice to everybody one of these days to finish one of these with a 0x.
Brad, I thought you had all the plans. I thought you told me last time you had it figured out.
Yeah, I'm staying in the back.
You don't finish with 0x? Why you do it?
I do finish with 0x's.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll have you then.
I'm at a 2.64 right now.
Nice. We got a bounty on Bradley.
No. I want to get my B license because I want to do auto club, damn it.
I would like to get out of D myself.
Oh, hey, I don't think we'll have to worry about Caden tonight.
Is he kicked out for a few nights?
I think after he purposely wrecked 10 people in a practice lab and was bragging about wrecking me in the race before, I don't think he'll be back.
He'll be off a week and he'll be back.
I mean, with the shit he was saying, I highly doubt it.
He's probably just now getting out of school.
Because he was bragging about wrecking me and then was just like purposely hitting people during the practice session. Well,
Bro, that's on a daily. He did that every day.
Yeah, no wonder he's at a .6 safety rating.
And he's world famous.
Guys, you know if you full push every lap, you're going to end up in the wall.
Yes, that will happen.
Crash in front of me just by not lifting.
Yeah, you gotta lift in these corners. Yo, first, second place, and I'll catch up to me. I'm gonna let y'all pass. Hey, Eric, you got any tips for keeping the car away from the wall when people are passing?
I do not. I'm trying to do it myself right now.
Yeah, because I've seen like the only that I've found that works, which honestly requires you to, either have a button set to neutral and to fourth or have like a 6-speed shifter, is dropping it in neutral. Because it seems like if this car has any type of torque going through the transmission, it just fucking pulls to the wall.
Yes. You can easily unload the suspension and it's over.
Damn, man.
Yeah, and the problem with dropping it in neutral if people pass, there's always the off chance that when you do it, when you come back on to throttle off the shift, now the car gets loose. You good, Andy?
Nah, fuck.
Good luck next race.
Man, I've got 1 and 2 figured out. I just don't have 3 and 4 figured out.
3 and 4, I feel like you kind of got to slow down a little more.
Exactly. You got to slow it down a lot more, and that's what I'm trying to figure out how to get around.
I've been sitting at around like 175, 176-ish in both of the turns.
It's all about how you set the turn up for sure.
I've also, as ours as it may seem, I run negative, I think 6 or 8 on the steering ratio, and that helps the car pull more down towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Because 12 to 1 is perfect.
Hit your brake.
Yeah, 2 guys from the front pack just went into the wall.
Do you run a front brake bias too much?
I've got my front brake bias maxed out. I think I've got mine at 58.
16, are you P1 or left?
What car number?
16.
Oh, I have no idea where they're at. I mean, I think I'm like the last car, one lap.
You are winning, guys.
Yeah, David's also a lap down.
16 has to be lappers prior to the way through first.
Yeah, 16 is on the same lap as me, so he's one lap down from the lead lap.
That's what you get. Sorry ass motherfucker, give me 2X for no reason.
さあ次のレースを楽しみにしています。興味がある個性的なドライバー。
sắc xơ rơi rụng, ôm nỗi sầu thầm lặng, hương sắc hoa sẵn ngàn kê sống với ngàn nỗi biết đi về đâu.
紫色の大学さんとレースカーが連携される車の動画が出てくるので、レースカーが気になってこの差を先に出してください。紫色の大学さんとナンバー3279番です。10分後に車はボックスに日本の皆様にお越しいただきありがとうございます。iRacing は世界で一番いいレースシミュレーターです。ぜひご覧ください。皆様
Thank you.
No problem. Go in front, brother. Come.
to everyone.
Nice race.
30分後に登録を終了いたします。まだ登録してない方は登録室にお願いします。